Hello guys, Note here with a video about the rental server program on Battlefield 1. Now again, this is a little bit different than what I usually do. Now the reason I'm making it is because, well, I've tried making it for years, but I'm just far too lazy. The issue with the RSP, because let's face it, there's a lot. I want to kind of just shine a light on it, and hopefully DICE or EA, I mean, if just by chance they happen to watch, I highly doubt it, but whenever we tend to criticize them, it doesn't matter whether it's horrible or whether it's well-intentioned or it's constructive feedback or whatever, DICE have a massive tendency to just bury their heads in the sand and ignore everything completely. Now, for me personally, I want this game to succeed. I want this franchise to succeed. It's the same with Halo. I want it to do well. But the problem is that with burying your heads in your sand all the time, you completely miss the constructive feedback that can make your game better. Now, generally speaking, when it comes to the rental server program, the best people you can talk to, it isn't some fucking survey you can send out every 5 months. The best thing you can do is talk to the people who actually own them. Not just myself. I mean, you know, there's Infinity Paradise, there's AMG, there's Pilly, there's Teabag, all of these. These are all people that have owned servers for years on end that you can get positive feedback from. Where you went right, where you went wrong, ways to improve. Because I do understand to some degree there is going to be technological stops. You know, there's going to be somewhere where it can't be done because of the technology. I mean, after all, this rental server program was released in 2017. Right? I do understand that there is some kind of limitation. Some of them, however, some of them I think were just either laziness or incompetence. And again, bury your heads in your sand if you want, but that is what we believe. Because some of these were just not thought through. Now, the RSP, for a start, much better to have. And believe me, I'd rather that it actually existed in this form than we didn't have it at all. Because cheating in Battlefield is insane. Always has been. But then it's not just the hackers that we have to deal with. It's the homophobic pricks. It's the racist pricks. You know, all of these can be banned on community servers. And it also allows communities to form. But this video isn't really about why it's important to have it. That's just a little thing. Addition, I guess. Now the price. That is the first issue. The price is dumb for a few reasons. It charges you on the length of time you own it, rather than the number of players. Now, I do believe that, it doesn't really apply now, but I do believe that in the past, especially when BF1 was at its peak, you lost a crap ton of money. Because the amount of people that simply looked and said, I want a domination clan, or I want a supply drop clan, whatever it may be, but I'm not paying £130 for 6 months for a server that is only 24 players in size. That's crazy. Now, for Conquest, the way it works is you can always upgrade them to Conquest. I would counter with, well, why not just take that away? So, for example, if you buy a domination server, you can only apply game modes that are that size, 24 players. If you buy a Conquest server, then you can do whatever you like. But what this does is it helps smaller communities who say don't have the money. Or some of them might have some money, but not all of it. You could have had so many more community servers going. Which is really depressing. Because it means that when I say buy my server, I'm paying £130 or whatever it is. I get 64 players, and I can get all the maps if I want. All the maps, and the map's entirety at that, because obviously it's 32v32. However, if I was to go and say, I want a domination server, I get 40 players less because it's only 24, and I only get roughly about a third of the map. So, in other words, do you not say, oh, that's a bit of a rip? In the sense that I'm paying the same amount for less. Whereas if you charged it, let's say Frontlines is a prime example, because Frontlines doesn't even offer you every map. It's only, I think it's what, 13, 12, something like that. Why not? Because it's 32 players. Offer that for £70, £65 for 6 months, because you're not getting all of it. Conquest, you pay 130. For half that, Frontlines, you pay 70, 65, depending. And then for Domination and Supply Drop and War Pigeons, the small modes, you charge even less. Like 40 quid or 50 quid or something like that. Because again, you're getting less. I personally, I would love to rent a second server that was, a Domination server, a TDM server or something like that. But I can't. Because I'm just not prepared to pay 130 quid for a 24 player and also I only get a third of the maps. Like the actual size. I'm just not prepared to do it. Waste of money. Now, next up, the ban list. Now, the ban list itself is only 200 players. Now, for those of you who've never owned a server before, you may be thinking, 200, that seems like a reason. It's not. Trust me. It's probably a tenth of what we need. And I'm generally being serious as well. That's not sarcasm. A tenth. You need at least 1,000. Hacking in Battlefield 1 is so unbelievably bad. I mean, our communities as a whole, we might ban about 8 to 9 people a day. Some of them, are just racists, homophobes, whatever. But the majority of them are hackers. I mean... But I mean, even on top of that, right? So if you look at the actual ban list, it doesn't give you what you actually need in terms of information. So for example, let's say I had 199 out of 200, right? 199 cheaters in there. And I was to add someone. That player, he doesn't just end up at the 200 spot or the top spot, like most recent ban to least recent, something like that. He can go anywhere in that 200 slot. Which is obviously a nightmare if, let's face it, we're human. We do sometimes make mistakes. Let's say I've accidentally banned him and I've seen cheating somewhere in a video that isn't right. It turns out it's not cheating. I've just made a mistake. I've then got to go through all those 200 names to find him in 130th place, to find him 188th, to find him in 9th. Instead of doing it kind of smart, like alphabetically or recent ban to oldest ban, that kind of thing, nah. It also, as well, if the account gets banned by Fair Fight, which doesn't happen anymore, it doesn't even take them off that list, even though the account's no longer enabled. Genius. Next up, customization. Now, this is something personal to me and a few others, right? I totally get that people enjoy playing with everything. AMG is a prime example of that. You want to allow the Murray SMG08, the mortar truck, what have you, right? That's fine. You do you. But some people don't. Now, you may think, well, why can't you just ban it? Now, the thing is, whenever you go into the configuration for the server, it doesn't just give you what you need, right? In other words, you can't just say, oh, well, I want to ban the SMG08, and then you click SMGs and customization, and the SMG08's there, click lock, and they're not there anymore. Nope. What you get is a list of basic presets. So in other words, rifles, self-loading rifles, LMGs, elite kits, stationary weapons, gadgets, the whole shebang. And, well, you can't. It's basically a case of you either ban none, or all of them. So you want to ban the rifle grenade, right? Let's just say, for example. You can't. You have to ban every single gadget for assault, medic, support, and scout. No flares, no tripwires, no limper charges, repair tool, medical syringe, none of it. AA rocket, gone. We can have all of them. The same goes for the Muromets, right? You just want to get rid of that one specific variant of the bomber. You have to get rid of not just planes, air vehicles. So in other words, you can't have the C-class airship. You can't have the fighter plane, bomber, attack plane. Absolutely none of it. Let's say the artillery truck. You want to get rid of that one specific mortar truck. You know, you want to keep the AA variant and the normal anti-tank variant. You can't. You have to ban, not tanks, land vehicles. So in other words, every tank goes missing. All the scout cars go missing. The armoured car goes missing. The bikes go missing. Everything. Just hasn't been thought through whatsoever. Now, if as well as that, if you want to get rid of the, let's say you're thinking, what about the SMG-8? Which a lot of communities have actually banned. I think there's about 6 at last count. So let's say you want to get rid of the SMG-8. Well, you can, but you have to ban every single SMG. MP18, RSC SMG, the M1917 carbine. Don't know why that's the SMG, but whatever. You know, the list goes on. You can't have one banned, you have to ban them all. It's either all or none. Which is really, really stupid. Now, I remember playing Halo Combat Evolved way back in 2003, right? It was released in PC then. It's called Custom Edition. By 2004, modders had already figured out how to get rid of certain weapons on the map. So, for example, a lot of clans back then were against heavy weapons, rocket launchers, fuel rod guns, that kind of thing. So what you would do is you would simply go back in spec mode. There was a little spectate mode you could enter if you were the server owner. And you would go up to where a heavy weapon spawned, like a rocket launcher. Or I mean, this worked for every weapon, but I'm just giving you this as an example. Click the rocket launcher, or the whatever weapon you want, and it would give you 3 options. Move, replace, and change. So in other words, you could either move it and change the spawn entirely for your server, so it turned up somewhere else. You could either remove it, in other words, just delete it and have nothing there. Or you could change it to another weapon. So in other words, just change, I'll just have a needler there instead, or a plasma rifle. Done. That was in 2004, by the time I think that mod came out. Battlefield 1 in 2016, you can't even have singular weapons banned. Next up, operations. Now, I'll never understand this personally, but the flagship game mode for this, right? The flagship mode of this game, and you can't rent a server with it. Now, yes, I know there is a way to do it, which I'm not allowed to say. But how does that make sense? Imagine how many people would have bought operations servers because they're so sick of running into cheaters. Which, for the record, that's basically their only choice. It's to play with hackers. Rage hackers as well, because Fairfight wasn't going to ban them. It is an utterly baffling decision that you can't actually rent a server for ops, and even shock ops at that. Again, there might have been a clan out there that enjoyed shock ops and wanted to have a server in it, or maybe added it to an operations group, whatever it may be. It just doesn't make any sense. Next up, Expiration. Now, this is something that I feel with more common sense than anything. Let's say when I rented a server on Halo Combat Evolved, right? It would essentially, the provider, because it was done via a certain website, which I'm not allowed to use the name of, because they went out of business, they would basically send an email to me let's say a month or so before it expires, and saying, do you want to like add more? Are you okay? Do you just want it to be cancelled? Do you just want it to be? Do you want X amount of more time added to it? The list went on, and then it would send another one 3 days before it expires, then a day before it expired, just to kind of keep you up to date and remind you. And I never understood why DICE couldn't do that, because it essentially meant that the server never had to go down. Now, I admit, this only really happens once every 6 months. But what I don't understand is, why does the server have to die in order for us to renew it, rather than just saying to her, oh, well, it's going to expire in a week. Do you want to add another 6 months after this week? Again, I know that it's still like once every 6 months or once every 3 months, depending on how often you rent it. But it doesn't make sense that it has to die before you renew it. Why can't you just simply add more time to it? Now, finishing up on this video, because I understand it's a bit long, it sucks how we basically have to pay a lot of money to do DICE and EA's job of dealing with cheaters. This RSP is expensive, poorly made, and created just to basically shush us. That's my only real option and opinion on that. And I'm sure many of the other server owners agree. As I've said before, if you just talk to us about it, you can generally improve. You can do better, but you can also be better. I'm not trying to say this in any kind of hate. I mean it as this needs to improve for the next Battlefield game, because honest to God, if this is what you release in the next Battlefield, you've got a chance to actually make quite a bit of money out of it as well, because if it's good, people will buy it. Anyway, that's it for me. Love you and leave you.